Arco 1964 here, another video. This I'm looking at racing from Monday, April 27th through to Sunday the 3rd of May. I'm leading off the Punchestown Festival. Basically, in my view, every race on Friday is a qualifier as a race of interest. I left off the Technical Festival and the Grand National 3-day meeting as well. So for the same reason that all races, I think, Ascot would be the same thing as well. All races will qualify. I actually went to the Punchestown Festival myself in 2017. Luckily, I was going the day before and the day after was a 5-day meeting as well, going to all 5 days. And I was in the day before, and the plane was delayed 3 hours, but compensation everything at those days paid for about around about 3/4 of my holiday, basically. That was good fun. Very helpful delay, frankly. A lot cheaper Cheltenham Festival was. It's not. I looked again more recently, and it's not. Again, everywhere costs have gone up. There's a lot. I went to Cheltenham Festival 4 days, 2016, staying next day before and afterwards, and it's a lot more expensive than Punchestown. Back to racing. I'm actually looking at start at Naas, an evening meeting here. A few races to note here. Start with EBF Fillies at Maiden over fraction under 6 furlongs, 2 roads only, and then we have on the same distance Fields and upwards handicap, and then just on the 5 furlong sprint we have another maiden here, and that's 2 roads only, and the listed Woodland Stakes again over 5 furlongs. A few short races here taking place at Naas, which is again for Fields and upwards. Final 2 races here, a valuable handicap of a mile, this time only Fields running in this one. And finally, maiden under 1 mile, 2.5 furlongs, 3-year-old fillies with this race. On the same day at Wolverhampton, the first race on the card, just over 1.5 miles a furlong, we have the Amateurs Jockeys Handicap Stakes. On Tuesday, and I don't know what it was, because it's reached a website to cancel all of the races off their website, but Brighton, brilliantly Brighton there, I think I'm going to Brighton on the 7th of May, because it's going to Chelmsford City. That meet's been cancelled. I had a ticket to London, so I might just say it's time in London instead. But Chelmsford City got cancelled. I thought, what happened to Brighton in 8 years? That's on the same day. Chelmsford City also cancelled, also the Chelmsford Filly Stakes was going to, got shifted by almost to a week earlier. So a lot about Chelmsford City. But Brighton now, due to a copy of the Wheeler Racing Company, I once mixed up Chelmsford City thinking they wan the course, so it might as well do as it's so badly wan. They Brighton messed up their stuff. Not first and Wheeler Racing Company messed stuff up. Happened to me once in a meeting I was going to Yarmouth 2015, where they we developed a track and delayed it by a month. It meant I had a train to a meeting, and then that obviously meeting was cancelled. I thought I might go to Windsor instead. Brighton's got to Windsor, but I'm thinking I've not been to that many years ago, so I might just spend my day in London. But Brighton had a meeting at race of notes, not many of them I have to say at Brighton, and that meeting's been cancelled. So we go to Epsom a week late, as the lack of wind in Epsom meant this meeting wasn't going to be taking place, or that it should have done. Due to film ground apparently in a minute, hopefully it will take place, and that's been taken a week later. And you have the main 3 races here which always ran. The Blue Ribbon Derby Trial Stakes, which has absolutely no influence on the Derby whatsoever. Is it 50 years, something like that, since someone's done a double? Dublin Naas seem to run in it. I mean, it might be slightly maybe more recent than that. Horses ran in it winning the Derby, but it has no influence at all. It's a 3-year-old listed Derby Trial, so called. Have a City and Suburban Handicap Stakes just over 1 mile 2 furlongs, and that's for 4-year-olds plus. And a very well known and well run Grand Metropolitan Handicap, not what it was, unfortunately. I'd love to have seen that one live. If it's a minute, just over 1.5 miles against 4-year-olds plus. Back in the day, it was 2.25 miles. You think, how on earth do you run a 2.25 mile race on a 1.5 mile track, which isn't circular? Is that they used to start going backwards up the middle of base Epsom Downs, get to the sort of part of the home back straight, and then went back down again to finishing line. Epsom, though, because the nature of that area is pretty much common ground, Epsom sort of got slight control of the racecourse eventually, and so when we did that, it became not practical to run any races down the middle of the racecourse, of that area. It just wasn't sensible. So that had to switch from a meeting to Warwick Metropolitan to 1.5 miles. You can in other meetings, Epsom's been in the middle of the racecourse, certainly before racing. I'm not sure during it as such. After that middle of race, when I was actually at this meeting a few years back, I actually was just before racing, went to the middle of the course, still around. And we end with a celebration on Mark 3 handicap over around about 1 mile, 1.5 a furlong. Mark 5 is not named a really don't say too much here, but look at Racewell's website, it must be the same person who used to write articles for them. I'm assuming he has died. It's one of these issues you have to wonder whether someone passed in celebration. I assume he's passed away. This race has not been run before, but I'm not absolutely certain of that, but I assume that's why the race has been run. On Thursday at Lingfield, the 13th Barry Gurr Memorial Handicap Stakes. Stakes over 6 furlongs. The only information I can find about this is a friend of his, Tim Reeves, organised this starting my circuit just after Barry died in 2010, and it's an event in aid of St Michael's Hospice. At Southwell, another amateurs jockeys race. It's a handicap over just over 1 mile 6 furlongs. Friday meeting at Ascot of 1st of May, meeting I've been to at some point in the past, because I've certainly seen some of these races, for all these races of note. Start with the Royal Ascot 2-year-old trial EBF condition stakes over exactly 5 furlongs. The Group 3 Sagaro Stakes trial for Ascot Gold Cup of fractionally under 2 miles. A trial race for the Commonwealth Cup. This is a Group 3 Pavilion Stakes over 6 furlongs. Powder Stakes listed racer Queen Anne Stakes trial over exactly a mile. Handicap over 5 furlongs. A Fillies Novice over just under a mile. And Apprentice Handicap over a mile. Just say about the ages here, but both the Commonwealth Cup and the Fillies Novice are 3-year-old only, rest of them are 4-year-old plus, and of course the first race is a 2-year-old race. Interestingly, it's now classed as trial races. I don't know how recently that's been done. I went there, the city wouldn't, I believe, listed as trial races Royal Ascot, but clearly that's a move, maybe just to promote, well, I don't say promote Royal Ascot, don't really need that much promotion, but clearly maybe this race day as well as that one. Also Friday at Goodwood, another meeting I've been to a few years ago. There's an EBF Novice Stakes over exactly 5 furlongs for 2-year-olds. The John Dunlop EBF Condition Stakes over exactly a mile for 3-year-olds. John Dunlop is a very well-known trainer, training 74 Group 1 winners, including 10 Classic winners, and he died in 2018. And there's been a race named in his memory since then. Originally, it was actually a March Stakes Group 3 race, and in the last few years, it's been this race here, has been named after him. We also have a 4-year-old plus 5 furlong handicap. Daisy Warwick listed Filly Stakes over fraction under a mile and a half, 4-year-olds plus. A 6 furlong handicap, 4-year-old plus. A Newmarket with a 3-day Guineas meeting with the this I think this Friday was the middle of, I think this meeting was mainly the mid-May meeting was on then, because I went to this meeting separately when I went to 2000 Guineas, both days 2017. I also went a couple of years ago just to the 2000 Guineas, but 2017 I went to both days of the Guineas meeting, and at some other time I went to see some races on this card certainly, which will ran in mid-May rather than now. So in order we have Maiden Filly Stakes for 3-year-olds plus over a mile and 2 furlongs. They're listed Newmarket Stakes, which has been on around a very long time, 3-year-old only. Also 3-year-old only, a mile handicap. The Group 2 Jockey Club Stakes over a mile and a half. A 7 furlong handicap for 4-year-old plus. The listed King Charles II Stakes, that's a race I saw certainly in mid-May in the past, so it's been brought for the calendar to make this a 3-day meeting part because of this race, and that's again 3-year-old only. And the final race is a 6 furlong handicap, 3-year-old plus. At Warwick we have a major hunt to chase meeting. I'm suspecting this is the Cheltenham meeting being switched to Warwick. I know Cheltenham lost the last few meetings because we're developing some issues with drainage, and so I think this is the meeting that was going to be there and now is at Warwick. So another race went to Warwick as well early in the year, and so we start with an open hunter steeplechase of exactly 2 miles, point-to-point hunter steeplechase, and again another hunter chase over exactly the same distance. Previous on 5-year-old plus, this 6-year-old plus. I think maybe qualifying is slightly different maybe for this, where you've got 2 races are based on the same distance. I have Jonathan Neeson Memorial Open Hunter Steeplechase over exactly the same distance, in fact, and then we have a Mares Open Hunter Steeplechase over the same distance as well. I'm not quite sure we've got all these over the same distance. The Mares one obviously is the Mares, but the other 3 are all the same distance. I know it says different qualifying criteria or what, something I really don't know. We then have another hunter chase over fraction under 4 miles and 1 furlong, and at end with a hunter chase over 2 miles 4 furlongs. And the Jonathan Neeson race was named after a former racing broadcaster who died a couple of years ago. And race was first ran at Cheltenham. I'm saying this was a Cheltenham meeting switched over, and that race was first ran at Cheltenham last year. On the Saturday at Doncaster, have a Susan Duker Memorial EBF Novice Stakes over fraction over 6 furlongs. I say Duker's not most well-known name, so I'm guessing it's a Susan Duker who died in Wakefield last year. Same day at Goodwood, we have restricted maidens, horses in bands C and D, as 3 to 5-year-olds. Not commonly see races that are flat listed with that specific age bracket, and that's for a mile. The Cheltenham Filly Stakes, I mentioned this just a figure earlier, I may have mentioned with name how it was supposed to be run at Chelsea City, and Chelsea City's incompetence. We've made them the race a week earlier, just to annoy me, which it did annoy me, certainly. And moved here, but I can't make this meeting out anyway, even if I wanted to go to Cheltenham Filly Stakes, so I've got plans on that today. And that's a 6 furlong race, exactly 3 year olds. The Conqueror Filly Stakes, listed race, 3 year olds only, over 6 furlongs. Conqueror Filly Stakes, a listed race over mile for 3 year olds plus. You have a handicap for 4 years plus over fraction under 1 mile 2 furlongs, and a 7 furlong handicap for 3 year olds only. At Hexham, we have a Bobby Roberts Memorial Maiden Hurdle Race over 2 miles 48 yards, 4 years plus. And Elizabeth Elliot, a birthday celebration handicap steeplechase over 2 miles 4 furlong. Also have a 2,000 guineas day. I say so was 2017, and a great, despite his tax issues and rather avaricious attitude, well, alleged avaricious attitude, I'm still a great fan of Frankie Dettori, and it's great joy to see Charles Deedon with the guineas under Dettori. He was 23 or 24, and I thought he was originally retiring, and then he went on for a year, now he's finally just about retiring. We have 9 races here, which is quite a rarity. I know when I went the second time it was 9 races. Don't see too much of that on a card. I know when the with Duty Stakes was rescheduled from Doncaster to Newcastle, my local track, it was added into as a 9 race card. It was added into the 8 races already taking place. Bizarre situation, and like a series of class 4, class 5, and then a group 1 in the middle of it all. So we start with the Ella Chandler Stake, used to be called the Kilvin Stakes. And actually, when I went to this meeting, to Guineas meetings, I've actually seen this race, oddly enough, because I'd seen the Guineas, but I'd never seen all the listed races. And so that used to be a Kilvin Stakes, that used to run at Nottingham, and that's his own name. It was a fixture swap then, as the Ben Marshall Stakes went from Newmarket in late in the year, or October time, and moved over to Nottingham. It's a field plus race of 6 furlongs. A couple of valuable handicaps, one over 6 furlongs for 4 year plus, and then the Suffolk Stakes over 1 mile 1 furlongs 3 year plus. The Group 3 Palace House Stakes over 5 furlongs, Palace House being where the National Horse Racing Museum is located. Then of course the 2,000 guineas itself. Then you have of course the 2,000 guineas itself. Then have a field only 6 furlong handicap. Handicap stakes for 4 year plus over 1.5 miles. Handicap for horses with only a maximum 1 race. Fields only 7 furlongs. And a 1 mile handicap 4 year plus. At Thirsk, you have a Thirsk Hunt Cup. I've been to about a few years ago, quite a long time ago now. I was always thinking I might go back again at some point, but maybe I might do that some year. That's a fraction under a mile, 4 year plus. Alison Andrew Richardson Ruby Anniversary Handicap over 6 furlongs, 4 year plus. Well done there to them. A fantastic 40 years of happy, hopefully happy marriage. I mean, we're still, well, we won't race named after them anyway, even if they're not. The same at Uttoxeter, the Staffordshire Plate Handicap Steeplechase of just over 3 miles. Have a Tim Gorson's fixture for Nash Hunt Maiden Hurdle Race, just over 1 mile, 7.5 furlongs. I'm a bit lost by this name because it's the same race name as last year, so I don't know if he's passed away or what's happened there. It's a bit strange having the same name again, so maybe I'm missing something there. Perhaps people more local might know something about that. Back over an island at Cork, we have EBF Auction Series Maiden, 5 furlongs, 2 year olds only, and a 6 furlong maiden 3 year plus, a 4 year olds plus handicap over 7 furlongs, the listed Polonia Stakes over 5.5 furlongs for 3 year olds fillies, Cork Derby over 1.5 miles, over 4 year plus. That's confusing everybody again, a bit like the Irish Ledger. So you think, well, Cork Derby's field race, isn't it? It's a 4 year plus race, and a handicap. And another race from the Pat Smullen series, a Maiden Auction Fillies Maiden over just under 1 mile, 2.5 furlongs for 3 year old fillies. Back to headquarters for the 1,000 guineas day. So we start here with Pretty Polly Stakes, listed race over 1 mile 2 furlongs for 3 year olds only. The Dahlia Stakes Group 2 1 mile 1 furlongs, 4 year olds plus. A valuable mile 6 handicap for 4 year old plus. The 1,000 guineas itself. Fillies Novice Stakes over 5 furlongs for 2 year olds only. Or the same distance and same price money, actually it's the Colts version, a 2 year old 5 furlong race. And finally a 3 year old only mile 2 handicap. So I've got another amateur race here, third this week. 6 furlong handicap, 4 year olds plus. Back in Ireland at Sligo, there's a fillies handicap over just over 1 mile 2.5 furlongs for 3 year old plus. And the same at Hamilton. I did consider going to this race. There's 2 valuable races here, but I've seen one of them about 8-9 years ago. So I've seen one of those races before. And there were plans I had. it's sort of difficult for me to get back on Sundays, I found, from there, because it turns out Carlisle to Newcastle stop at 8:30 on Sunday rather than 10 o'clock, so I knew I was something Newcastle at 11. I could have just about sorted that out. I can't go to Edinburgh, it's a bit expensive. Decided I've got other things I can do on Sunday before my event in the late evening, so I'll do that instead. Races of note here is a handicap over just over 1.5 furlongs, €4 plus. An EBF Novice Stakes over just under 1.5 furlongs, I get for fields only. Caroline Murray Birthday Celebrations Handicap Stakes over just over 6 furlongs.